Let me tell you something that most people don't realize about relationships. A lot of the time, a man is testing you, and he doesn't say a single word about it. He's not sitting you down saying, okay, today I'm going to evaluate your patience. He's not announcing, today I'm going to test your confidence. No, he just watches. He watches how you react when things don't go your way. He watches how you behave when he pulls back a little. He watches how you carry yourself when nobody is praising you. And here's the truth many people don't understand. These tests are not always about manipulation. Sometimes they're about figuring out who you really are. Because when someone is thinking about giving their heart, their time, and their future to another person, they want to know something important. Can this person handle real life? Life is not always romantic dinners and sweet messages. Life is pressured. Life is misunderstandings. Life is moments where emotions run high. So before a man invests deeply, he often looks for signals, not word signals. Signals of strength, signals of maturity, signals of self-respect. And the amazing thing is this, the women who pass these tests the easiest are not the ones trying to pass them. They're simply the ones who understand their value. Today, we're going to talk about something powerful. Men test you without saying a word, and this is how you pass every time. Not by playing games, not by pretending to be someone you're not, but by understanding the psychology behind these silent tests and responding with confidence, calmness, and self-respect. Because when you understand these patterns, something incredible happens. You stop reacting emotionally, and you start responding wisely. And that changes everything. One of the most important things to understand about relationships is that many men observe far more than they speak. Before a man truly invests his time, emotions, and commitment, he often watches quietly. He pays attention to how a woman behaves in everyday situations. Not the perfect moments, not the planned conversations, but the natural, unguarded moments where a person's true character shows itself. This observation is not always something he plans consciously. In many cases, it happens naturally because people won't understand who they are dealing with before they give their heart to someone. Words can be convincing, promises can sound beautiful, and first impressions can be charming. But behavior over time tells the real story. A man might notice how a woman reacts when plans change unexpectedly. Maybe he had to cancel something or reschedule. In that moment, he's not only thinking about the situation itself, he's observing the reaction. Does she respond with understanding and calmness, or does she react with anger and accusations? That reaction tells him a lot about emotional maturity. Another moment he might observe is how she handles frustration. Life is full of small problems, traffic, delays, misunderstandings, stress at work. These little moments often reveal the true emotional stability of a person. If someone becomes overwhelmed by every inconvenience, it signals that bigger challenges in life might become even more difficult. Men who are thinking seriously about a relationship often look for someone who can handle life with balance. That doesn't mean perfection. Everyone gets upset sometimes. Everyone has bad days. But the key difference is how someone recovers from those moments. Emotional stability is not about never feeling emotions. It is about managing them with maturity. He might also watch how she treats other people. This is a powerful indicator of character. The way someone speaks to a waiter, a cashier, a stranger, or even friends can reveal far more than how they behave in romantic moments. Kindness, patience, and respect toward others show a deeper level of character that goes beyond attraction. Another important thing men often observe is how a woman carries herself when she is not trying to impress anyone. When someone is trying very hard to be like, they might behave differently, but over time, the real personality starts to appear. This is why consistency matters. If a person is calm, respectful, and confident in different situations, it creates a sense of reliability. Confidence is something that many men quietly look for. Not loud confidence or arrogance, but quiet confidence. The kind that shows in how someone speaks, how they make decisions, and how they value themselves. A woman who knows her worth does not feel the need to constantly prove it. Her actions show it naturally. For example, if a disagreement happens, a confident person does not immediately panic or try to win the argument at all costs. Instead, they communicate calmly. They listen. They respond with clarity instead of emotion. That kind of behavior sends a strong signal of emotional intelligence. Another situation that reveals character is silence. Sometimes a man may pull back slightly, not because he is playing games, but because life gets busy or he wants space to think. In that moment, he may notice how the woman responds. Does she immediately assume the worst? Does she react with fear and pressure? Or does she remain secure and patient? Security in oneself is very attractive because it shows independence. When someone feels complete on their own, they do not rely on constant reassurance from another person. This creates a healthier dynamic in the relationship because both people bring stability rather than insecurity. Observation also happens through patterns over time. One good moment or one bad moment does not define someone, but repeated behavior forms a pattern, and patterns reveal character. A man who is paying attention will notice whether someone consistently behaves with honesty, respect, and emotional balance. Honesty is another thing that stands out during these quiet observations. Small situations often reveal whether someone tells the truth or tries to manipulate circumstances. Trust is built slowly, and it begins with these small signals. Many women think passing these tests requires saying the right thing or doing something impressive. In reality, it is much simpler than that. The strongest impression comes from authenticity. When someone is genuine, their behavior naturally aligns with their values. Trying too hard to impress can sometimes have the opposite effect. When someone is constantly adjusting their personality to gain approval, it creates inconsistency. Over time, that inconsistency becomes noticeable. But when someone is comfortable being themselves, their actions remain steady. What many people don't realize is that these quiet observations are happening on both sides. Women also observe men in similar ways. Everyone wants to know if the person they are investing in is emotionally stable, respectful, and trustworthy. This is why the most powerful thing a person can do in these situations is simply live with integrity, treat people with respect, handle challenges calmly, maintain self-respect, communicate honestly. When these qualities are present, there's nothing to prove and nothing to perform. The behavior speaks for itself. And when a man sees that kind of character consistently over time, something important happens in his mind. He begins to feel safe investing emotionally. He begins to see the potential for something real and lasting, because at the end of the day, attraction may bring two people together, but character is what determines whether a relationship can truly grow. One of the most powerful tests that often happens in relationships has nothing to do with words, gifts, or romantic gestures. It has everything to do with emotions. Many men quietly observe how a woman handles emotional situations because emotional control tells them a great deal about the kind of partner she will be in the long run. Life is emotional by nature. Relationships bring happiness, excitement, frustration, disagreements, and sometimes uncertainty. No relationship exists without emotional moments. Because of that, a man often pays attention to how someone reacts when those emotions appear. When everything is going smoothly, anyone can appear calm and loving. It is easy to smile when things are perfect, but true emotional maturity shows itself when situations become uncomfortable, confusing, or challenging. For example, there may be moments when communication slows down. A message might not be answered right away. A call might be missed. Sometimes this happens because life is busy, work becomes demanding, or someone simply needs time to think. In those moments, emotions can easily take control. Some people immediately jump to conclusions. They assume something negative is happening. Their mind fills with doubts, and those doubts quickly turn into reactions. They might send multiple messages, express anger, or accuse the other person of losing interest. But emotional control means pausing before reacting. It means understanding that not every situation requires an immediate emotional response. A person who can remain calm in uncertain moments shows a deep level of confidence and emotional balance. Men often notice this difference very clearly. When a woman reacts with panic or frustration over small uncertainties, it can signal insecurity. However, when she remains calm and composed, it shows that she trusts herself and understands her own worth. Another emotional test often happens during disagreements. No two people think exactly the same way. Different opinions will always exist in any relationship. What matters is not the disagreement itself, but the way it is handled. Some people treat disagreements like battles. They raise their voice, become defensive, or try to prove that the other person is wrong. These reactions often come from strong emotions taking control of the situation. But emotional intelligence looks very different. A person with emotional control listens carefully, speaks calmly, and tries to understand the other perspective. Instead of reacting impulsively, they respond thoughtfully. This kind of response sends a powerful message. It shows maturity, patience, and the ability to solve problems rather than create bigger conflicts. Men who are paying attention often see this as a sign that a woman can handle real-life challenges. Relationships eventually face serious situations, financial stress, family issues, unexpected life changes. A partner who can stay calm and think clearly during emotional moments becomes someone they can rely on. Another common emotional situation happens when attention changes slightly. At the beginning of many relationships, communication and excitement are very intense. Messages are frequent, conversations are long, and everything feels new. Over time, life naturally balances out. Work responsibilities increase, personal routines return, and communication patterns become more realistic. Some people interpret this change as a loss of interest, which can trigger emotional reactions. However, emotional control means understanding that relationships evolve. It means recognizing that consistency and respect matter more than constant excitement. A woman who understands this dynamic remains confident even when attention is not constant. She continues focusing on her own goals, her own happiness, and her own life. This independence creates a healthy balance in the relationship. Men often admire this kind of stability because it removes pressure and creates a more natural connection. When both people maintain their individuality, the relationship becomes stronger rather than dependent. Another emotional test appears when someone hears something they do not like. Maybe a man shares a difficult truth, expresses a concern, or gives honest feedback. In those moments, emotions can quickly rise. Some people immediately become defensive or offended. They focus only on protecting their ego. But emotional maturity allows someone to listen carefully before reacting. Even if the feedback is uncomfortable, they consider whether there is something valuable to learn from it. This ability to manage emotions and think logically is incredibly powerful in relationships. It prevents unnecessary conflicts and encourages growth for both partners. Emotional control also shows through patience. Not every situation needs an immediate solution. Sometimes people need time to think, reflect, and understand their feelings. Someone who can allow space without reacting emotionally shows deep confidence. Confidence and emotional control are closely connected. When someone truly believes in their value, they do not feel threatened by every small change or challenge. They remain steady, knowing that their worth does not depend on constant reassurance. This steadiness is often what men notice the most. A calm response during emotional moments stands out far more than dramatic reactions. It signals strength without needing to prove it. It's important to understand that emotional control does not mean suppressing feelings. Everyone has emotions, and expressing them is healthy. The key difference is how those emotions are managed. Instead of reacting immediately, emotionally mature people take a moment to think. They choose their words carefully. They respond in ways that move the situation forward rather than making it worse. This kind of behavior creates trust. When someone knows that their partner can handle emotional situations calmly, it builds a sense of safety in the relationship. Over time, these small emotional moments become the foundation of respect. A man begins to see that the woman he is with is not controlled by temporary feelings. Instead, she has the strength to remain balanced even when situations become challenging. And that kind of emotional stability is something that many people quietly search for in a long-term partner. Because attraction may bring two people together, but emotional maturity is what keeps them strong when life becomes complicated. One of the most powerful truths about relationships is that the level of respect you receive from others is often connected to the level of respect you show yourself. Many men quietly observe this very closely because self-respect reveals a person's standards, boundaries, and sense of value. It shows whether someone understands their worth or whether they are constantly seeking validation from others. Self-respect is not something that needs to be announced. It does not require loud statements or constant reminders. Instead, it shows through behavior, decisions, and the way someone carries themselves in everyday situations. A woman who respects herself naturally sets the tone for how others treat her. For example, consider how someone values their own time. Time is one of the most important resources anyone has. When a person respects their time, they are careful about how it is used and who they share it with. They do not allow others to constantly cancel plans without explanation, ignore them repeatedly, or treat their presence as unimportant. A woman with strong self-respect does not chase attention or beg for someone's time. If someone shows consistent disinterest or lack of effort, she recognizes it and steps back. This action alone communicates something very powerful. She understands her value and will not accept less than she deserves. Men often notice this behavior because it signals confidence. Confidence is attractive not because it is loud or dominant, but because it reflects emotional stability. A person who respects themselves does not feel the need to compete for attention or approval. Another important aspect of self-respect is boundaries. Boundaries are not about controlling other people. They are about protecting your own emotional well-being. They define what behavior is acceptable and what behavior is not. In relationships, boundaries can appear in many forms. It may involve refusing to tolerate disrespectful language, dishonesty, or repeated broken promises. It may also involve protecting personal space, personal goals, and personal values. A woman with clear boundaries communicates them calmly and confidently. She does not create unnecessary drama, but she also does not allow someone to cross those boundaries repeatedly. This balance shows maturity and strength. Men who are serious about relationships often respect these boundaries because they reveal something important about the woman's character. Someone who protects their dignity today will likely protect their relationship tomorrow. That kind of reliability builds trust over time. Another sign of self-respect appears in the way someone handles attention. Many people believe that the more attention they receive, the more valuable they are. But true self-respect does not depend on constant praise or approval from others. A woman who values herself does not feel the need to constantly prove her worth. She does not seek validation through excessive messages, dramatic reactions, or attempts to impress someone. Instead, she focuses on living a balanced life that includes her interests, friendships, and personal growth. This independence creates a healthier relationship dynamic. When both people maintain their individuality, the relationship becomes a partnership rather than a dependency. Each person brings their own strength into the connection instead of relying on the other to complete them. Men often notice this independence because it creates admiration. It shows that the woman is not simply waiting for someone to give her happiness. She is already building a fulfilling life on her own. When someone chooses to be part of that life, it becomes a meaningful addition rather than a necessity. Self-respect also influences how someone communicates. When a person values themselves, they speak honestly and directly. They do not hide their needs or opinions out of fear of losing someone's approval. At the same time, they express themselves with respect rather than aggression. This balanced communication style shows emotional maturity. It allows both partners to understand each other clearly without unnecessary misunderstandings or emotional pressure. Another important aspect of self-respect is patience. Many people rush into relationships because they fear being alone or missing an opportunity. But a woman who truly respects herself understands that the right relationship is worth waiting for. She does not settle for behavior that makes her feel undervalued. She does not ignore warning signs simply to keep someone interested. Instead, she pays attention to actions, consistency, and effort. This patience often earns a man's respect because it shows discipline and wisdom. It demonstrates that she is not easily influenced by temporary emotions or surface-level attraction. Men who observe this kind of behavior often recognize that they are dealing with someone who understands her worth. That realization changes how they approach the relationship. Instead of testing limits or pushing boundaries, they become more mindful of maintaining respect. Respect works in both directions. When a man sees that a woman values herself, he understands that the relationship requires mutual effort. He recognizes that trust, honesty, and consistency are necessary to keep that connection strong. Over time, this mutual respect becomes the foundation of the relationship. Attraction may bring two people together initially, but respect is what allows that connection to grow into something deeper and more meaningful. A woman who maintains self-respect does not need to demand it from others. Her actions communicate it naturally. The way she protects her time, her boundaries, and her emotional well-being sends a clear message about how she expects to be treated. And when that message is consistent, men who are paying attention will recognize it immediately, because at the end of the day, people treat you according to the standards you set for yourself. When those standards are built on self-respect, confidence, and dignity, the respect you receive from others begins to reflect those same qualities. One of the most misunderstood things in relationships is the idea that you must constantly impress someone in order to keep their interest. Many people believe they need to say the perfect word, behave in a certain way, or constantly prove their worth. But in reality, the quality that often matters most is consistency. Consistency means being the same person over time. It means your behavior, values, and attitude remain steady instead of constantly changing to please someone else. When a man observes a woman, he often looks for this stability because it shows reliability and authenticity. At the beginning of many relationships, people naturally try to present their best side. They may go out of their way to be extra kind, extra patient, or extra attentive. While this is normal, it can sometimes create a version of a person that is difficult to maintain long term. Over time, the effort required to keep up that image becomes exhausting, and the real personality begins to appear. This is why trying too hard to impress someone can actually work against you. When behavior changes depending on the situation or the person involved, it creates confusion. A man may start to wonder which version of you is the real one. Consistency removes that confusion. When someone behaves with the same level of kindness, respect, and honesty in different situations, it creates trust. People feel comfortable around someone whose behavior they can predict in a positive way. For example, imagine a woman who is respectful and calm when everything is going well, but becomes extremely different when something small goes wrong. Maybe she becomes impatient, dismissive, or overly emotional. That sudden change creates uncertainty. It raises questions about how she might react when life presents bigger challenges. On the other hand, a woman who maintains a balanced attitude, even during difficult moments, shows emotional stability. She doesn't pretend that problems don't exist, but she approaches them with patience and maturity. That steady behavior sends a powerful signal about her character. Men who are thinking about long-term relationships often pay close attention to this kind of pattern. They are not only asking themselves whether they enjoy spending time with someone, they are also wondering what life would look like with that person in the future. Life includes stress, responsibilities, and unexpected changes. A consistent partner becomes someone who can face those challenges together without creating unnecessary conflict. Consistency also reflects honesty. When someone is authentic, their words and actions align naturally. They do not feel the need to exaggerate stories, hide their true feelings, or change their opinions depending on who they are speaking to. This honesty creates a sense of security in the relationship. Security is something that many people quietly seek. When a partner behaves consistently, it reduces doubt and uncertainty. You know where you stand with that person because their actions match their words. Another important part of consistency is effort. Relationships require attention, communication, and care from both sides. A consistent person shows effort regularly rather than only during certain moments. Some people show great effort in the beginning but slowly lose interest in maintaining that energy. Their communication becomes irregular, their attention fades, and their priorities change frequently. This inconsistency can create confusion and frustration. However, a woman who values consistency understands that genuine connection grows through steady actions. She communicates honestly, shows appreciation, and maintains respect over time. Her effort is not temporary, it becomes part of her character. Men often notice this kind of reliability because it stands out. In a world where many people behave unpredictably, consistent behavior feels refreshing and trustworthy. Another area where consistency becomes important is personal values. Everyone has beliefs about respect, honesty, and loyalty. When someone consistently lives according to those values, it shows integrity. Integrity means doing the right thing even when it is not convenient. It means treating people with fairness and dignity regardless of the situation. This kind of character cannot be faked for long periods of time. Eventually, real values reveal themselves through actions. Men who observe this level of integrity often develop deeper respect for the woman they are with. They see that her behavior is not simply a strategy to win approval, but a reflection of who she truly is. Consistency also allows attraction to grow naturally. When someone stops trying to impress and simply lives authentically, their personality becomes more relaxed and genuine. This authenticity often makes interactions more enjoyable and meaningful. Trying too hard to impress someone can create pressure in the relationship. It can make every conversation feel like a performance instead of a natural exchange. But when both people feel comfortable being themselves, the connection becomes more real. A consistent person does not need to constantly prove their value because their behavior already demonstrates it. They remain respectful, calm, and confident in different situations. Over time, this reliability builds trust and admiration. It is also important to understand that consistency does not mean perfection. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has moments where they feel tired, frustrated, or uncertain. What matters is the overall pattern of behavior. If someone consistently strives to treat others with kindness, honesty, and respect, those values become the foundation of their relationships. Small mistakes do not destroy trust because the overall character remains strong. Men who are quietly observing these patterns often come to an important realization. They see that the woman they are spending time with is not trying to impress them with temporary gestures. Instead, she is simply being herself. And when that self is built on stability, integrity, and authenticity, it creates a powerful sense of confidence in the relationship. Because at the end of the day, impressive words and grand gestures may capture attention for a moment, but it is consistent character that keeps someone interested for a lifetime.